So guys, finally something for the Frost Mage lovers. The basic premise is very similar to retail, although some of the spells are so buffed up that we turn out to be an amazing damage turret that can break down enemies in seconds when stars aligns and we get all the procs needed. As you probably know, I'm a proc lover spec, so this one is perfect. We basically can proc 3 instant cast spells just by casting things like Frostbolt, Frost Nova, Cone of Cold. We always want those spells flying and hitting so we can get even more procs. Mostly we'll be running around and spamming Frostbolts as you would expect from a Frost Mage, although our spec is supplemented with instant Mind Blasts, which is kind of different from the retail and overall mage playstyle, mainly because Frostbolt can make it instant and Mind Blast can proc us even more Fingers of Frost, which is an amazing synergy. We use standard Brain Freeze for some free fireballs, mostly because Fireball has a very nice coefficient, thus far dealing nice amounts of damage, and of course Ice Lances. We want to spam those Ice Lances as much as possible while we have Fingers of Frost up. And our Ice Lances are supplemented with 2 very powerful things. One is Shadow Lance, so basically we now shoot 2 lances, one is Frost, one is Shadow, and both deal similar damage, so you basically double down your twice just with 1 talent. And we also pick Icicles, so every time we cast Frostbolt, an Icicle is stored, and then when we actually cast Ice Lance, all Icicles are being unleashed, luring your enemies with Frost. And this is probably one of the biggest burst windows we can create, because on top of it all we are also using the Frost Bomb, which make not only Frostbolt to deal additional damage while connecting with your target, but on top of that it's an amazing burst preparation to cast Frost Bomb, then a couple of Frostbolts to not only deal quite a lot of damage in itself but also store a couple of Icicles, and then when the Frost Bomb is finished just unleash everything on your target and all the remaining proc cooldowns we have up, which basically means that if done properly and if we can have some time to free cast, which is the biggest drawback in this build basically, because it's very melee heavy and sometimes you have 3 or even 4 people on yourself. But that's also why I want to prioritize those instant cast spells. Usually in 1v1 situations, even melees don't stand a chance. Then it comes down basically who has more mobility or defensive cooldowns to live through the other's burst, and that's when it comes down to it. All in all, improved version of Frost Mage from Wrath of the Lich King times is pretty amazing, and even with the basic toolkit, without getting too many good rolls, you can still do pretty amazing in leveling BGs. I have so much joy playing it myself that I will probably prestigious a couple of more times, and when I get at least semi-good build during leveling, I will probably try it out on level 60, because I have so much fun playing it, so that's why I recommend it also to you. And don't be discouraged by all those melees sitting on you 24/7. Just train your kiting skills, and I will tell you, as you've probably seen in the preview, that they will drop in a matter of seconds if you manage to outplay them. Enjoy. We're going to start off this build as an intellect, of course, as a primary start, as a cloth user, full spell power stuff, Frostbolt, pretty obvious, Fireball, because we will be getting those Brain Freeze procs, and 2 additional things in the beginning are Arcane Intellect for more damage, and a Fizzle just to have that extra interrupt. In PvP this is pretty important, especially when fighting ranged casters, while for melee we have stuff like Frost Nova, Screams of the Past, Shimmer. Shimmer is great for casters because usually, you know, not so many people have stuns, so blink is not that important, while Shimmer can be cast while casting already. So very often I just start casting Frostbolt, somebody charges me, and during mid that charge I can just blink away while still finishing my spell. So this way I am kinda ensuring that I land my first spell, which is quite important. Other than that, we additionally get Mind Blast because we will be proccing instant Mind Blasts off our Frostbolt Frost Bomb mandatory. This is our most like second most damaging ability. If we can free cast, very deadly, and on lower levels this deals quite a lot of damage. Ice Lance is the main thing of the build. Let's say we're going to be spamming this quite a lot, and it's very powerful while supplemented with certain things. As for talent, we go for Frosty Frostbolt. Every third Frostbolt we just deal more damage, and additionally this has more chance to trigger Brain Freeze and Fingers of Frost, so very good thing. Ice Barrage, main thing of the build, so basically we create the icicles like on retail by casting Frostbolts, and then we unleash them with our Ice Lance. This deals quite a lot of damage, especially when we can cast many Frostbolts during the Frost Bomb period and then unleash those while shooting out plenty of Frostbolts. The Ice Lance is supplemented with Fingers of Death, which basically means that casting Ice Lance also launches a Shadow Lance, dealing additional damage. These basically doubles the damage of Ice Lance, because it's slightly lower than Ice Lance, the damage, but it's very near it. So if we can also buff up like some shadow damage on top of everything, it's going to be great. Fingers of Frost, pretty obvious. We just want to generate those charges of instant Ice Lances. Cold Dark Thoughts, this is great because dealing direct damage with Frostbolt, Frost Nova, Blizzard, Cone of Cold, Frozen Orb, everything basically that we will be using anyway, has some chance, like 50%, to give us instant Mind Blast, which deals 25 more damage. Very nice. Brain Freeze, same as Cold Dark Thoughts, but it generates free Firebolt to shoot out. Also increases its damage by 25%, so very nice. Frost Pulse, this is the thing, mandatory thing that powers up our Frozen Orb, Frozen Bomb. So basically every time we Frostbolt somebody with Frost Bomb on them, it releases like AoE damage that deals pretty good amount, and also slows their movement speed. And this is actually a thing that we can swap out. This basically increases critical strike damage bonus of your spells by 20%, which is quite powerful, and our total frost damage by 7% for 8 seconds after casting Frostbolt. So it's very good, but there's also a thing called Mind Tendrils, which basically means that the Mind Blast that we generate through Frostbolts can have extra charge, and on top of that, consuming that Mind Blast grants us Fingers of Frost and resets the cooldowns of Mind Blast. So this means that it will allow us to generate more Fingers of Frost, which is quite important, especially when we are being trained. Then we can cast more on the move, which is quite important in PvP and fast-paced PvP, because yeah, most of the time we don't really have that much time to cast. So I think I'm gonna swap it out for this one this time. One big drawback is that we have to wait until level 40 to fully utilize the build, because yeah, Ice Lance becomes available at level 40, so we'll have to wait for it a little bit. But yeah, that's basically the build. All the things that we want to also get along the way are all kinds of Cone of Cold spells, so yeah, Glacial Spike and Cone of Cold mostly. All the Frost Novas like Icy Age or what's called Frost Nova, Water Nova is great as well, because all those spells can proc things like Fingers of Frost, as you can see, Brain Freeze, Cold Dark Thoughts, so it's very, very amazing. Also, the Frost Pulse is not only released by Frostbolt, but also by Cone of Cold, so in AoE situations or while fighting away, this can be great. So we will have to be on the lookout for those spells. Other than that, everything that buffs our frost damage is quite important, so that's how the build looks.